Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the 15th episode of the Deep in the Novo podcast. I'm Ryan Novozinsky, joined here, as always, by my co-host, Sudeep Tumma. And today, man, oh man, Texas is coming to town. Texas is coming to play OSU this Saturday against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And it's going to be a great matchup, I think. You know, you got the number 6 OSU Cowboys, a team that's trying to climb up in those rankings in the AP poll, going up against a talented Texas team that probably does not have the record that they want to have this year, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Deep?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to say, right? I mean, they're just such an uneven team, a team that came in with a lot of expectations. Obviously, with Sam Ehlinger and, you know, everyone you have on the squad, both sides of the ball, you expect a lot more. But it's just been so uneven, so many question marks at so many different positions, right? And it's just a lot of guys underperforming.
Definitely. And you look at so many position groups on this Texas team. I know we'll break it down a little bit more further on. But, man, like, you look at, you know, the offensive line and the inconsistencies there. You look at the wide receivers and, oh, my God, the inconsistencies there. Then you look at the other side of the ball, and you see some of these corners who I think are very, very inconsistent as well. And then you look, but then there's also units that really shine. I mean, I think that obviously Sam Ehlinger is the guy to look at when it comes to most consistent thing on this Texas offense, most consistently good thing on this Texas offense. But then there's other positions here and there. Like, I like the linebackers on this team. I like the defensive line too. But man, like, all around, this is definitely a team that, while they started off highly in the rankings, as Texas always does, you have to look at it all around and say, man, this is kind of a mess that's happening right now.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a lot of reasons, but I think you've seen some bad defenses, right, in the past for Texas, for the Big 12 especially, right? You can always get around that and contend around that as long as you have enough playmakers on defense, right? For Texas, the real issue comes down to this. It's their receivers, right? I mean, first and foremost, right? It was also the run game, right? First couple games before last week, which we'll get to, their running game just wasn't, materializing at all, right? You had Sam Ehlinger not only lead them in rushing yards, which is a testament to how good of a runner he is,
sure,
but just how bad this entire run game was, right? You got a guy, Keontae Ingram, who's a veteran runner, right? Bijan Robinson, I believe a 5-star freshman. Mm-hmm. You have some talent in the back, right? And you have usually a solid run game, right? Which is only bookended by dual threat Sam Ehlinger, right? A very talented Sam Ehlinger, a red zone running threat Sam Ehlinger, but you couldn't get the run game going at all. Then the receivers were struggling, right? Obviously, they did better last game, which, again, we'll get to. Mm-hmm. But they really struggled to get separation. You saw at worst with OU, right? I mean, these guys are a lot of big, tall, should be lengthy, could make plays down the field type of guys. A lot of them speedy. Even Tariq Black coming in. But just so many unknowns. When Devin Duvernay left, when Colin Johnson left the NFL, you expected kind of a drop-off, right? But man, at times they're so hit or miss. That's the thing. I can't just say they're bad. They're talented guys, but they're so hit or miss week to week. It's just been so many different things, right? Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, like I said, aren't gaining any separation, which a lot of people like to criticize Sam Ehlinger, but no one can throw when receivers aren't getting separation, right? I mean, at any, no matter what defense you're playing against. And that's what made it so tough, right? But I think Ehlinger overall is playing better, but I think that really is a catalyst, right? The offense. If you can't get going on offense, run game, time of possession. I always say, when you have a bad defense, run the ball. Keep the ball in your hands and help your defense.
Yeah, and you have a quarterback, obviously, who can run. And Sam Ehlinger, let's just say this, he has been fantastic all year long. I mean, this is a guy who's this is the best quarterback OSU's faced so far, I'd say.
Sure.
Most talented for sure. And you talk about the dual threat nature of him. Man, it was a dual threat showcase the other day against Baylor, I think.
Sure.
When he would air it out for the first time in what seemed like all season, the deep ball worked. And I think that's a testament to his talent, to his arm strength. But it's the reason it hasn't been working all season is, like you said, the receivers have not been getting separation, and it's really must be frustrating for him. He probably thought all along, like, oh man, I know, we're trying to get Texas back, whatever. I hate that freaking cliche, but man, my senior year things will be looking up, right? We'll be on the come up. Give us a 4 years, right? But it didn't work out, and this year it's definitely not working out for him. And with this group going out there, and like you said, the running back inconsistencies too, they're super, super prevalent. But Bijan Robinson, like you said, he's a freshman, and he's finally sort of getting those snaps, because I feel like Tom Herman at this point is just like, F it, just go out there and you get all the snaps, because we're having too many inconsistencies at that position group. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think a very big key for Texas in this matchup is what can they do against these OSU corners, and to tell you the truth, I don't think they could do a whole lot.
Yeah, no doubt, right? I mean, OSU's corners have been playing fantastic, right? Rodarius Williams has been performing as one of the best cornerbacks in college football. We say it week in and week out, right? But, man, he is playing excellent. Jarek Bernard-Converse, obviously. It's mostly the two guys. Even Christian Holmes, right? The guy who rotates in is playing great football. But, yeah, you put Tanner McAllister, Thomas Harper, Malcolm Rodriguez, all these guys in the slot, right? You rotate guys in and out if you're OSU. But overall, I mean, it's really hard to gain separation when you're playing against this type of defense, right? The way OSU is performing. But that's definitely going to be key for OSU. But for me, it's really going to come down to establishing the run game because that's what they did against Baylor, right?
Yeah.
So, 27-16 at the end. Closer game than it actually was, right? For a majority of that game, Texas was wiping it, right? Their defense was playing well first off, but it was a run game. I think they ran it, 50-something times?
Yes.
Only threw it 23 times, right? A couple busted coverages, which looked a lot better, but overall, great on Ellinger to make those reads and find those guys. But it was Mike Yurcich establishing the run really early and sticking with it, right? Because, again, you do that because you're not only running with Sam Ellinger, you're running with these running backs first and foremost, right? Both those guys, Ingram and Robinson, were both, getting chunk runs, getting in there, making plays, right? Then you have Ellinger, we talk about Spencer Sanders being a great runner. This guy's a great runner.
Yeah.
He's a little bit different, right? He's a powerful type runner, right?
Yes.
He's a guy who'll just put his shoulder down and you don't want to see it in the NFL, but in college football, it can work.
A
right?
bell cow, if you will.
Sure, exactly, with horns. But
Wow, that actually was a good one.
with long horns.
There you go. Check one. That's Sudeep's best joke of the year. I'll say it.
Appreciate that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's what you get, right? A powerful runner. He's, again, a dual threat who helps the run game as well. But that's kind of what worked, right? You had those runs, and then you had the deep pass game open up, the play action game open up against Baylor, right? You saw some guys make some real plays. Tariq Black showcases speed going down the field. Joshua Moore, who's really broken out as their number one guy. 6'1" guy, very talented guy. I think he was suspended last year.
Yes.
Something like that. And he's really balling out now. He's showing it. Route runner, great route runner, able to get separation. He's only 6'1", but, man, he looks a lot bigger.
Yeah.
He looks long. He's able to jump up and make plays, down the field. Like I said, great route runner, great speed overall. He's an excellent receiver. Great matchup again with him and Rodarius. I feel like there's a great matchup with Rodarius every single week.
Probably, right?
Right. But, yeah, I mean, that, like I said, the run game for Texas against this D-line and these linebackers who are ferocious, right? They get penetration each and every week, it feels like. I mean, it's just hard to, do anything against them, right? Like we said last week with Breece Hall, I don't think OSU did a bad job. I think he was just losing contain on a few plays, right? Like a few little things, not being in your gap. The 70-yard run where Breece Hall got tackled 70 yards down. I thought it was just lack of gap discipline, right? Like you saw the guys jump in. Wasn't right. Like they were attacking the wrong gaps when the runner was out. And if you just put if you put the guy there, I mean, obviously I'm not taking anything away from Iowa State.
Sure.
Great blocking by them on that play, the power run play to the right. But it just came down to that. The 67-yarder came down to discipline. The Brock Purdy tuck and run 11 yards came down to that. Again, small little mistakes. Spencer Sanders throws a pick in his own red zone, essentially. What do they get the ball 26 yards away? It's a 26-yard field. That's very much easier rather than defending 70, 80 yards down the field, right? The little things, right? But I was talking about the run game for stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it was those little things. Overall, even Letty Brown, right? 100-yard day for Letty Brown. But they were getting in the backfield, right? They were getting penetration. Brendan Evers missed a tackle, or blah, blah, blah missed a tackle, right? Everyone missed a tackle. But it was just Letty Brown's strength, right? His stiff arm and getting there. But you had guys in the right position to make those plays. So it's going to be, is Texas going to be able to get that run game started and push the ball, right? Then get first downs and then wear down the defense a little bit. But again, it's very hard to wear down an OSU defense that is so deep.
Yeah, totally. And it's
especially D-line.
Yeah, D-line for sure. And that's the unit I think has to sort of hone in on those mistakes. And I'm sure Jim Knowles did it all week in practice, really honed in on those because this is, like you said, a unit that if you have one little misstep in it, they've proven this season that some of these running backs who are talented, and Texas does have talented running backs. They do have, sure, they're not figuring out who that number one guy is. Sure, they're sort of splitting snaps right now, but they will figure that out. And these two guys are very talented in Ingram, in Robinson, and these are guys that could punish you if you have some of these mistakes. But I think it's sort of a thing that we say every week. It's like, mistakes, yeah, but I think Jim Knowles is going to be pretty solid with that. And I don't think it will be too much of a concern for this OSU defense, honestly. Yeah,
and the mentality of them week in and week out, right? After games, they'll have like 11 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and you'll still see a little bit of disappointment on Jim Knowles' face, right? Their defense saying, yeah, we did all right. That's the great mentality of great defense.
That's all right.
Right, exactly. Like me, I'm sitting like, what? But it's that sort of mentality, right, to keep going and keep pushing, and that's just great because that's how you propel and sustain this sort of defensive force.
Yeah, totally. And when you look at sort of the way this Texas offense is built too, it's a lot of balance, a lot of sort of different types of attacks, right? You have obviously an offensive line that they're a little bit experienced, but I don't think they're as consistent as they'd like to be. And then with Ellinger and sort of that, you add another element to it with his sort of dual threat nature. So I can't wait to see what this Texas offense rolls out there on Saturday. I think we'll see a lot of rushing yards from Sam Ellinger because you saw quite a bit against Brock Purdy, but this is probably I'm going to say that this is the best mobile threat they'll face all season, and maybe even that will continue on for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we talk about how having a guy like Spencer Sanders, a runner, will open up holes for Chuba Hubbard, right? It does because the defense is one more guy to contain, right? Because they need to be scared, or they are scared of the fact that your quarterback might just tuck and run, right? Sam Ellinger is the same way, right? Any running quarterback is, especially a guy who can run with that much power and ferociousness. That almost puts he might not be as electric as Spencer, but that puts a little bit of a thing in your head, right? Like, oh yeah, a second guy might even be like, oh yeah, we don't want him to run us over and break a tackle, right? But that's just what it comes down to, containing Ellinger, because this guy is the real deal right now. Like, he is playing phenomenal. I think 17 touchdowns or 24 touchdowns or something crazy. And he's obviously striking through the air, on the ground. He has close to 300 yards. He's killing, and he's the main guy, right? He's going to carry this guy. We talk about the receivers, the run game not being there. In the end, it's going to come down to Sam Ellinger. Good, bad, left, right. That's what it's coming down to for Texas, right? This guy needs to propel them. If OSU makes plays, gets coverage, it's going to be Sam Ellinger needing to run for yards, right? And that's what OSU needs to contain. That's what's going to be so important. Yeah,
I think so too, for sure. And sort of when you look at it, the way this defense is able to adapt, I know Jim Knowles is going to have a good scheme planned up, and sort of they'll be able to iron things out.
And that's what I love so much, that week to week, Jim Knowles has so much, I don't know what it is, but he just cooks up game plans left and right each and every week, right? You saw it against West Virginia, against a quarterback in Jared Dagey who couldn't really throw the ball down the field. He figured out his weakness. He would blitz nonsensically, right?
Yeah.
It felt like every play he was going cover 0, full 7-8 guys in the box and rushing so many of them, just sticking one-on-one coverage, forcing Dagey to throw it under pressure, which didn't work out most of the times because either it was incomplete or it was just tackled really short, right? Or it was he would try to go down the field and you had great one-on-one coverage, or he was just inaccurate. There was guys that were open at times, but Jared Dagey's inaccurate down the field. Jim Knowles knows that, and he cooks up that sort of game plan, right? And the next week in Kansas, you don't really see much blitzing. It's just 4-man fronts, 3-man fronts, and just get to the quarterback, play coverage, and it works every single time. That's what I love about Knowles. He's just so adaptable week to week. And he's just finding the game plan. He's finding the right way to attack these offenses.
Totally, yeah. And he's going to be going up against an offense coordinator, Mike Yurcich, who used to be on OSU's sideline. Going to be an interesting matchup there. Now, Sudeep, before we talk about Texas's defense a little bit, do you want to take a journey with me?
Of course.
To the time machine? I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Let's go back a year, okay? Let's talk about that game last year, OSU versus Texas, okay? I want to know from you right now. Going into that game, you obviously saw some of the jitters. That was like Spencer Sanders' first big game. I'd say that was his first big test. Playing against, I believe that Texas was like 6 or something at the time. And he's playing against his home state, and he has the interceptions there. That was a weird game. They had that weird fake field goal. They had that, they had that weird.
That's right.
The punting was interesting there. I remember Tom Hutton had some pretty good punts. That was probably one of his best performances of last season. From what you saw then to now, how has Spencer Sanders evolved his game, and sort of how do you think he's going to be this time out against Texas, a team he grew up loving?
I think overall, you just take last year as a whole, even, his accuracy's gotten better, his mechanics have gotten better, and that happened game to game. I remember watching his Oregon State, you saw a lot of the raw talent, but you saw the mechanics off, right? His pocket presence, his feet weren't set properly,
right? All
these different things. And game to game, it got better. Obviously, there was a lot of interceptions. There was also a lot of tuck and run in Texas, right? It was a lot of, hey, it was that same thing as a freshman. you're just so used to, subconsciously in high school being able to, outrun everyone, or like make these passes that no one can defend.
Especially
right?
Spencer Sanders.
Right, exactly. And when you're that good of a guy, especially a dual threat, you kill it in high school. And then it's very hard to come into college football and not just feel like you can do the same thing, right? And it's that competitiveness. You want to be able to make every play, right? It's like Marcus Smart was at OSU, right? You want to make every single play, right? Competitive guys do that sort of thing. And I think now his pocket presence has gotten a lot better. You saw it last week especially. That's what I was most impressed about. You saw the plays, right? You saw the great passes. But that's what I was watching for coming into the year. That was my number one thing with him. Turnovers, aside from turnovers, I want to see that. Like, that was his main focus over all season, right? That's all you used to hear about from Tim Rattay, or just him working with Tim Rattay, getting that pocket presence better. Because, like I always said, you can be a dual threat quarterback, but be a pocket passer first. It always works out for everyone, right? That's the model, that's the mold everyone's trying to be. Like Cam Newton evolved into that, right? Russell Wilson, all the guys do that when they get out of college and do that and get into the NFL, right? You're a pocket passer because you look for every option, and then your sixth receiver is tuck the ball and run.
Yep.
And you become that much more undefendable, right? And it's a mix. It's just finding the balance between that, designed runs, RPOs, read options, all the plays, which just makes Spencer Sanders a better quarterback. But I think a lot of it also comes down to this. There was obviously a thing for Mike Gundy, hey, this is a freshman quarterback,
yes.
right? You saw it last year, which used to, I wanted to rip my hair out watching
that.
the game. Because, especially at Texas, I remember that game clearly. There was 5-6 opportunities.
I was mad.
Tylan Wallace just one-on-one. They're close to the goal line. Sure, you have Chuba Hubbard. What do you run? 30-something carries for 90 yards?
Yes.
It was inefficient. Even against a Texas defense that was not supposed to be good, they kept stuffing him because they just kept stacking the box, right? And like I said, a Texas defense is not good. And at the time, and you had Tylan Wallace one-on-one. You refused to go that way, and you ended up losing the game. It was 3rd and long. Instead of throwing the ball down the field when you were losing, you'd run the ball with 2 minutes left, right? It was a lot of that. And you just didn't want to screw it up. But now it's come, as Spencer Sanders gotten better and better, it's gotten better and better overall, right? There's a little more trust too with Mike Gundy, right? Which will continue to dial up. But a lot of that will come with how the defense plays as well. The defense holds its pace, which I'm sure they will, especially after last week. It's going to be, you're going to see some of those moments, but they're going to be more fruitful, right? Instead of, hey, it's 3rd and long, let's just rush and punch it away, play field position, instead of screwing up and throwing a pick by accident or fumbling it, which makes sense, right? Say you're at your own 30-yard line if you're OSU, right? You're at your own 30-yard line. Spencer Sanders throws another pick. Texas has, 30 yards, 20 yards to go, rather than, hey, let's hand it off, run 5 yards, punt the ball away, make them go 80 yards. You usually force a 3 and out. You usually get Texas to punt the ball away without giving up any points. Not the prettiest play. Obviously, most fans won't like that.
Sure.
Not a lot of offense, but it wins football games, right? And like I said, that's not the play every single time. But there's finding that balance, and like I said, it's going to make it more fruitful. You're going to gain more opportunities. You're going to win more football games.
Definitely. I would have liked to have seen more of a attack downfield from Spencer Sanders last year. Hopefully we'll see that this week, I think. Yeah. I think we probably will. Definitely we probably will. Because so. These Texas cornerbacks, you talk about the Texas defense last season, I think the secondary's gotten worse. And I think you could be able to attack it down the field, especially with all the separation that Tylan Wallace has been able to get this year and throughout his career at OSU, right?
Yeah, you just have playmakers, right? Tylan Wallace, Braden Johnson, Dylan Stoner, speedy guys.
Yeah, definitely, and you can stay here, but I'm going to go even back another year in the time machine, right? And I'm going to go back to the year before. Hi, Taylor Cornelius. You're the quarterback now. And Tylan Wallace had a stellar game against Texas. This guy knows how to do it against the Longhorns. That was one of the first games where sort of his coming out party, if you will, because that was sort of when he had his first huge game, 200-plus yards, a couple touchdowns here and there. And this is a guy who's been able to do it against Texas in the past, and more talented Texas teams in the past. And I think this year, in his probably last season with OSU, is going to have his best performance yet against the Longhorns.
Tylan Wallace is just one of those receivers where even if you're going up against really good corners, it doesn't matter.
No.
Right? Because not just because he's an uber talent who's so fast or such a good route runner, blah, blah, blah. It's because if nothing else fails, if he can't get open on curls, if the cornerback's so good that he's sticking to him, Tylan Wallace is likely the most physical receiver in college football,
50-50.
Yeah, that, and I mean, I'll get to that in a second. But I think what really illustrates it is watch every time he gets pushed out of bounds. the guy falls down or the guy stays out of bounds while Talon Wallace is back in bounds, catches a ball, and it's a long run.
Yep.
He's so physical. You try to bump him out and hope he stumbles or trips or something. He won't.
No.
He's trying to get physical with you, right? He's going to push you down. You saw Anthony Johnson
Of
Jr.
course.
fall down, right? And then, yes, the 50-50 balls. Down the field, this guy is one of the best at tracking deep balls, right? That's a skill as a receiver. When you're down the field, not every pass is going to be so accurate, right? Sometimes going a few yards left, right, sometimes 10 yards left or right, and then finding that ball, tracking it, getting yourself in position, but not just getting yourself in position. Getting yourself and using the body leverage to outwork the other guy, right?
Right.
Whether he sticks to you or just facing a different way to catch that ball, right? To go up. And at the point of attack, there's very few guys that are better, right? He might not be the biggest guy, 6 foot. His frame might not be the biggest, but he is strong. He plays a lot bigger than that 6 foot frame, right? And that's what's so scary because you don't just throw it up. Spencer Sanders obviously has chemistry with him, right? But you can throw it up, and if you throw it up to the right place, this guy more times than not will make it a 60-40 ball, 70-30 ball, right? 80-20 ball. Like, he's just that talented.
Yeah, he definitely is. And obviously a guy that's going to be going up against this Texas defense this week, probably striking fear into the hearts of those corners there, over there, down there in Austin. Now, let's talk about this Texas defense as a whole, though. We got to talk first and foremost, I think, about this front seven, and it's really interesting. Some of my favorite guys on this Texas squad, I mean, you look at Juwan Mitchell, the linebacker over there. You look at some of these defensive ends, man, but my favorite guy is the Jack. I love Joseph Asai. He's a physical, definitely a tough guy out there at that Jack position. And he's a guy that's going to create a lot of pressure and can be a run stuffer too. A guy who's a definite run stuffer, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. When Chris Ash came in, it was a 4-3 defense, right? That's what he ran at Rutgers. It's really transformed more into a 4-2-5.
Yes.
Right? You have that spur, that fifth safety, if you want to call it, kind of linebacker. Technically is supposed to be a linebacker, sort of, but he really performs as a cornerback, right? Chris Adamore, I believe it's pronounced.
Yes.
You have those 3 guys out there at all times, right? Then, yeah, Joseph Asai, the Jack linebacker. So if you want to call it technical, right, you got 3-man front and then 3 linebackers. But Joseph Asai essentially plays on the line the whole game.
He does,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that Jack, the nature of the Jack position is that, right, where it's a hybrid, but this guy's always on the defensive line. Right? He's a high-impact player, of course. But I agree with you. I mean, this front seven is at times scary, right? They were really good against Baylor. But Asai and this D-line are heavy, right? They are powerful. They're great run stoppers. Obviously, they can work the pass rush as well. And that's something where I'm going to want to watch, right? How does this OSU O-line, obviously they've done a great job putting it back together, right? With Jake Springfield, with Hunter Woodard. They've done a great job. Charlie Dickey, kudos to him, right? Like I said, each and every week in the offseason when it was only Dylan Galloway and Bryce Bray gone, right? Those 2 starters and Jacob Farrell, of course. But then 2 more guys were lost, right? and even so, I'm like, all right, offensive line coaches. I trust in offensive line coaches,
there you
right?
go.
I mean, you have to trust in offensive line coaches.
Especially Charlie Dickey.
Especially Charlie Dickey, right? And he's done a great job shuffling things around, getting guys ready. Obviously, like I said, they're not the same O-line. They were pre-Dylan Galloway, pre-Hunter Anthony and Cole Birmingham going out, but they've done a good job. And I'm going to be interested against this powerful. I mean, they are big. In the middle, nose tackle, Keandre Coburn, he's almost 350 pounds.
Yep.
He is a big guy. Daquan Graham, I believe it is.
Yes.
He's also another great guy on the line, Joseph Asai. Overall, this is a very good unit. They haven't gotten a lot of sacks, but they're great pass rushing. I mean, they should be theoretically great pass rushing. Great run stopping for sure. They've done that. They've gotten the backfield. They are big and heavy.
Definitely, yeah. And last week, a thing you saw last week was that they applied pressure in the backfield too. They guys like Mitchell, guys like, I believe his name is Moro Ojomo, one of their linebackers one of their defensive ends. Right. He was able to apply pressure. A handful of Texas defensemen, they got the tackles for loss last week, and definitely they applied pressure to the Baylor Bears, and that was really interesting to see. Definitely, Baylor, I know doesn't have that much experience playing this season, sure, but the way they were able to apply pressure was pretty darn fascinating from this Texas unit. Let's talk about the secondary too a little bit, okay? Let's talk about Caden Stearns and a little bit of these safeties and what they're able to do against this OSU team. Caden Stearns, obviously a guy who's had a lot of hype over his career and really I think is a very talented free safety in this league.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this unit is too deep. right? Caden Stearns, Chris Brown is also having
Yeah, of
a
course.
great season, right? And they're versatile, where you can bring them down to the box, you can bring them one-on-one in coverage. They've done some of that and stuck in coverage. That's what's most impressive, right? When you're bringing safety down, you don't always know how good they're going to be, right? Unless you have, safeties like Trey Sterling's playing right now or Colby Harville-Peel, where you can throw them one-on-one on elite cornerbacks or elite running backs or tight ends and know they're going to be good. Or even wide receivers sometimes, right? When you have the best type of, like Jarek Bernard-Converse, right? He was a safety, but he played inside coverage basically all of last season, right? A role Tanner McAllister is doing pretty well right now, playing mostly inside. But it's that sort of thing. It's tough for safeties to always do that. But these two guys have done it really well. You're right. They're doing great. And BJ Foster, right? Another guy their third safety, who's pretty high up in tackles as well. He's another talented guy. For sure. And yeah, the safety unit's just on again. Another unit. The defensive line are very impressive for me.
Yeah, I think so too. And you sort of look at some of the similarities between OSU safeties and Texas's. I mean, these are two very, very talented groups. Probably if you look at these groups, these are probably some of their most talented position groups on the field when you look at both these teams' defense.
Yeah.
And then obviously, too, with the defensive line. I think both of these teams, they got depth and they have talent, high-end talent up there. But then sort of, I guess, the ugly duckling, if you want to call them, the ugly longhorn, if you want to call them, is sort of this cornerback group. I don't think it's that talented. I think they're a little bit... I can't remember. They're the inexperienced group on this team. No, they're not. They're both juniors. A bunch of them are juniors out there and just really not doing that great of a job this year, giving up a lot of deep plays, I'd say.
Yeah, that's the one issue, right? I mean, like I said, BJ Foster, we mentioned a second ago, third in tackles, right?
Yeah.
Overall, this safety group is great, but yeah, the cornerbacks, that's definitely where we have a little bit of question marks for sure. And hopefully that's where OSU can exploit that, right? Exploit their matchups. Because that was not hard to come against Iowa State, but those guys were definitely some talented guys, right? On both sides, for sure. And overall as a defense. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the defensive line is going to be huge. And the safety groups, the linebackers have played a lot better last week.
Yes.
Two guys that are very impressive, right? Overshawn and Jawan Mitchell, right?
Yes.
Two linebackers. And it's going to be interesting, right? Because it's just there's so many question marks with this Texas team. And question marks in terms of inconsistency. It's not even a thing of, oh, these are bad players or bad schemes or we don't know, blah, blah, blah. It's really underperforming, right? And a lot of times that comes down to schemes.
Sure, and that is so true, because when you look at this Texas team, obviously you want to have the best coaches in the country out there, and they could probably afford to throw all the money in the world at some of the best coaches out there, but scheming-wise, we'll see how it lines up against OSU this Saturday night. All right, Deep, it's time. We're not going to make you give a specific score prediction, but what I'm going to do here, and you're going to do it next, is we're going to pick how much either team is going to win by. So I think OSU can beat Texas by 14. I think they can. I think it could be multiple touchdowns. So I'm going to go with OSU winning. Gosh, like I said, I don't want to give a specific score, but man, I think they can win by 14. I think they can win a little bit big.
Yeah, I think so. I could see that as well. It's going to come down to discipline, right? Small little things. Spencer Sanders not throwing a pick again, which again, the first one was really just, I don't like the word luck, but it was lucky,
I know.
Right? In the sense of, had he thrown it 2 feet, 1 foot above, it wouldn't have been a freak play, right? The freak play where it jumps up in the air, someone catches it. Second one, bad read. But things you learn from, right?
Sure.
Guys have these little things here and there, right? I think 14's fair. I'm going to go with 10. Because I don't know if I feel like I say 20 or 21, that's just gonna go like, oh my god, what? That's a big score. But just because, again, it also comes down a little bit to just how OSU's playing, field position, kick the ball away, and we'll see right after this if the offense can really lay it down and go farther. Obviously, they did against Kansas, but it's gonna be interesting now. But again, with so many question marks against a Texas team that's playing like this, I would say 10 points.
That's a pretty good prediction, man.
I think so.
10 points. That's a good one, man. I like it a lot. But we will see. We will see if all these predictions come into fruition this Saturday against Texas. Man, oh man, we will be there covering it. Check out theocali.com for all your OSU football coverage and for all of our coverage for every other sport, every other news item, and every other lifestyle item. Visit ocali.com. I'm Ryan Novozinsky. Thank you and have a great day.